They say awakening is beautiful. But what if it also isolates you? What if the moment you begin to see what others don't, you start walking a road that no one else can follow? That's the danger no one tells you about. The quiet ache that comes with clarity. Because to see the world as it really is often means losing the comfort of how you wish it was. You see, most people live in a dream they mistake for reality. They move through life believing the stories told to them about success, happiness, purpose, and control. They build walls of meaning, and inside those walls, everything feels safe, predictable, manageable. But every now and then, someone, maybe you, starts to question the walls themselves. You begin to notice the cracks, the emptiness in conversations that used to satisfy you, the strange feeling that your achievements don't quite touch the soul. You start to see that the things everyone chases, money, validation, belonging, are shadows of something deeper. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. It's like waking up in a theater while everyone else is still watching the play. You stand up, whispering to the crowd that the actors aren't real, but they just shush you. They think you're ruining the story. The truth is, seeing through the illusion doesn't make you superior. It just makes you aware. And awareness is both a gift and a burden, because awareness separates you, at least for a while, from the comfort of being asleep. Alan Watts once said, "You don't look out there for God, something in the sky. You look in you." But the moment you turn inward, you begin to realize how much of your life was built outward, how much of you depended on what others believe, how others see you, how others approve. That's when the danger begins. Because seeing what others don't often means feeling what others can't. You start to feel the weight of pretending, the fatigue of small talk, the pain of living among people who think the illusion is life itself, and yet you can't go back. Once the curtain of falsehood falls, there's no way to unknow what you know. So you start to withdraw. Not because you hate people, but because you start to crave truth more than company. You sit by rivers, under trees, in rooms filled with silence, and you wonder, am I crazy, or am I finally sane? This is the paradox of awakening. The more you see, the less you belong, and yet the less you belong, the closer you come to truth. Most people believe awakening means bliss, but at first, it feels more like heartbreak. You begin to see the suffering hidden behind laughter, the fear disguised as confidence, the chaos behind order. You see how humans cling to illusion because truth feels unbearable, and you understand, not with judgment, but with compassion, why they choose not to see. Because truth demands death, the death of who you thought you were. When you start to see reality clearly, the ego begins to crumble. The stories you built around your name, your career, your achievements, they all start to feel small, temporary, fragile. And that can be terrifying, because for so long, that identity was your home. It was your sense of I. But awakening whispers, you were never that person at all. You are not the story. You are the awareness watching it unfold. And that's the moment when the ground beneath you disappears. You feel suspended between who you were and who you're becoming, but you can't quite define either. You exist in a strange space between everything and nothing, between self and silence, between illusion and infinity. It's not an easy space to live in. The world around you starts to feel unfamiliar. Conversations lose their meaning. Goals lose their urgency. You look around and wonder how you ever believed this was all there was. You begin to see people rushing to places, to success, to someone's approval, and you want to tell them. You're chasing reflections in a mirror, but you stop yourself because you remember you once chased too. You once believed. So instead of speaking, you watch. You listen. You learn compassion. You learn to love without needing to change anyone, because you understand that no one wakes up before they're ready. That's the quiet maturity that comes with seeing. You no longer argue about truth. You no longer seek to prove it. You simply are it, but still, there's loneliness in that understanding. Because the language of awakening can't be spoken, it can only be lived. And those who haven't seen can't yet hear what you mean. That's the hidden cost of awareness, the loss of belonging. And yet, in that loss lies the seed of freedom. Because the more you let go of the need to be understood, the more you begin to understand everything. Maybe that's the paradox Alan Watts wanted us to see, that the danger of seeing what others don't is not in the seeing itself, but in thinking that others should see too. Seeing differently doesn't make you apart from the world. It makes you one with it in a way words can't explain. So perhaps the path is not to awaken the world, but to awaken within it, to live among the dreamers, not as one of them, but as the dreamer who knows he's dreaming. And that's where peace begins. The strange thing about awakening is that after the loneliness fades, something unexpected begins to bloom. A quiet stillness. Not the stillness of silence after chaos, but the stillness that hums beneath everything, even the noise. At first you think you've lost connection with the world, but in truth, you start to see how deeply connected you've always been. You realize that your awareness, the same awareness you thought set you apart, is the same one breathing through every living thing. It's the same pulse in the wind, in the trees, in the laughter of strangers passing by. You've never been apart from it. You were just too focused on being you to notice. Alan Watts once said, "You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at itself." And when that begins to sink in, something profound happens. The fear that once clung to you starts to dissolve. The fear of being misunderstood. The fear of losing control. The fear of death itself. Because you begin to sense that the universe doesn't die, it only transforms. Every moment something vanishes, and something else takes its place. Breath in, breath out. Waves rise and fall. You're not a solid being moving through time. You're time itself taking form for a little while. But still, the mind resists. It doesn't want to dissolve. It whispers, "If I let go, who will I be?" That's the final illusion, that you are something separate from the flow. The ego clings to its story, terrified that truth means its end. And yet, when you finally stop resisting, when you surrender to that vastness, you don't disappear. You expand. It's as if life opens its arms and says, "Welcome back." You were never meant to carry yourself alone. This is the moment when the danger turns into grace, when seeing what others don't is no longer a curse, but a calling, because you begin to understand that awakening was never about escaping the world. It was about returning to it with new eyes. You start to see beauty in places you once overlooked. The simplicity of rain against a window, the way sunlight filters through dust in an empty room, the laughter of a child, pure and uncalculated. These small, ordinary things become extraordinary. Not because they changed, but because you did. You begin to realize that enlightenment isn't about becoming more. It's about becoming less. Less attached, less reactive, less certain. And in that emptiness, something miraculous happens. Peace flows in. You don't have to force understanding anymore. You simply allow it. You don't chase love. You become the space where love naturally arises. You don't control life. You dance with it. But here's the catch. Not everyone will understand this shift. Some will see your calm and mistake it for indifference. Others will call your detachment apathy. Let them. Because those who truly see know that peace is not the absence of emotion. It's the full acceptance of it. You can feel sorrow without drowning, joy without clinging, love without fear. You've learned the rhythm of impermanence, and that makes every heartbeat sacred. The people who once mocked your solitude might start to seek your presence, not because you preach, but because you radiate something they can't quite name. That's the quiet power of awareness. It doesn't convert through words. It transforms through being. But don't be fooled into thinking the journey ends here. The deeper you go, the subtler the illusions become. The ego, clever as ever, might whisper, "Ah, I am enlightened now." That's just another mask. The ego hiding behind spiritual pride. True seeing is humble. It doesn't seek to stand above others, but to see through the very idea of above and below. Because once you recognize that every person is simply the universe playing another role, judgment falls away. How can you look down on someone when you know they are just another reflection of you? That's when compassion blossoms, not the pitying kind, but the radiant understanding that all beings are doing their best within their level of awareness. Even those who live deep in illusion are sacred, because illusion too is part of the dance. You begin to love not because it's virtuous, but because it's inevitable. Love becomes as natural as breathing. You don't choose it, it chooses you. And somewhere in that vast stillness, the question that haunted you, why do I see what others don't, finally fades, because you realize there was never an I to begin with. The danger was only ever in clinging to the seer. Once that falls away, seeing becomes pure, unfiltered by identity, untangled by desire. You simply are. Imagine a drop of water realizing it was never separate from the ocean. That's awakening. The drop doesn't vanish, it remembers. And in that remembering, fear dissolves, loneliness ends, and the illusion of control loses all meaning. You begin to laugh at the beautiful absurdity of it all. How seriously we take this fleeting dream. How hard we try to define what cannot be defined. And in that laughter, you are free. Alan Watts often reminded us that life is not a problem to be solved, but a dance to be enjoyed. The danger of seeing what others don't is only dangerous if you forget to dance. Because seeing deeply doesn't mean withdrawing from life. It means moving through it lightly, playfully, without clinging. You can love fully, lose gracefully, and live boldly, knowing that none of it is truly lost. It all flows back to the same source, the same vast awareness that first opened its eyes through you. So perhaps the final wisdom is this: you don't awaken from the world, you awaken as the world. And when you realize that, you stop trying to wake others. You just shine, quietly, effortlessly, like sunlight filtering through clouds. Because in the end, seeing what others don't isn't about having answers. It's about becoming the question itself, the living mystery, the stillness between each breath. And that's where true freedom lives, not in escaping the illusion, but in knowing that you were the dream and the dreamer all along.